Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name's Chris and it's fantastic to have you back with us for another video. So today I've put down my popcorn, lots of drama, and I thought, you know what, I should probably give my take on it. Whether people want to hear it's probably a different thing, but I thought I'd give my take on it. So obviously I'm referring to everything with George and BitBoy and Benjamin Cohen and all this sort of talk around BitBoy's incorrect price prediction for Bitcoin. So if you like this sort of drama content, mash that like button, subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and let's get into this juicy stuff. So it all surrounds this particular tweet. I expect the Bitcoin bull top within 2 weeks of September 27th. And this is obviously what BitBoy said. This bleeds into October. So think about that. All in all, this cycle could be wrapped up before fall ends. Take your profits off the table if you are in green and on the right track. Right, so Benjamin's come back and he said, how can the top be in 2 weeks if Bitcoin has not even put in a new high for the last 5 months, right? So interesting stuff. Got George basically slating, talking through his charts, all that wonderful stuff. My response to BitBoy's Bitcoin top call. But I agree with a lot of the stuff that George is saying in here in the charts that he's referring to. Then you got BitBoy coming back, and I think the reason why I wanted to sort of put down the popcorn and sort of come away from enjoying all this drama is purely because I think between each one of these influencers, they've kind of missed like the points along the way, right? Like, because they're all looking at charts, and I agree with what BitBoy is saying here. Everybody's looking at charts, but there is something that he did say that I disagree with, which is that that's the word that I don't like. All these people are just using charts, and they're not looking at the things like black swan events. Now we'll come on to black swan events in a minute, and I'll sort of myth bust that, I guess. But what I think he really is alluding to is fundamental changes of projects. But even himself is guilty of this, because he's talking about Bitcoin, and he made this price prediction, and he's been talking about it for a long time, right? And it all sort of stems from, where is it? It's not that one. This one here. Okay, so this cycle, so you kind of get a bit of a motion up in your 51%, and then your 49% comes in, it goes sort of parabolic, right? And then it tops and you go into your bear cycle, and then rinse and repeat, right? But there's a difference. We haven't seen that happen here, right? So at this point was May 18th, 2021. We haven't seen that. We just haven't. Right. So 27th, it should be sort of, topping here, 27th of September. This is void, null, doesn't mean anything. It's not accurate, right? And BitBoy's just been following this chart, and he's made a price prediction based on this chart, and then that's exactly what the others are doing. They're just using other charts. So I think it's harsh to sort of have a go. I think the price points are spot on. I think these price points will come in, and Nick and myself have always said timing is the hardest part, right? It's the most difficult bit. But let's sort of move on to, I guess, myth busting this black swan event, because this is what sort of got me to make this video more than anything, right? Because I'm not really too bothered about BitBoy's price predictions or George's price predictions for Bitcoin. We've got our own. We think they're going to come in regardless of what they say, don't say. These are our views and our opinions, right? So it is interesting. So a black swan event, and he's referring to basically deflation. So everybody's talking about inflation, right? So, you know, to talk about deflation is really interesting, right? And there's only really one person or one company that are really talking about deflation as, you know, a real possibility, right? And that is 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘. Now, she's sort of talking more long term rather than something that's going to impact this bull cycle negatively, right? And this is just my take on everything that I took from that video. So, you know, he might be looking at other stuff. I don't really know, but this is how I've taken it. So I guess he's referring to what 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 said. And I think she said this a while back, but, you know, basically there's a shift in investor types or groups of investors. So you've had your baby boomers, that sort of, you know, dying off, and then you're getting your millennials, right? And you got to look where the money's going. Yeah, and we talk about this all the time. Where's the money going? Well, the money's going into crypto, the money's going into like gaming sort of innovation companies and that sort of stuff, right? That's where the money's going as far as I'm concerned. You know, there's a few other sectors, but, you know, those are going to be sort of the main ones, right? So you've got to follow where the money's going. So, you know, really you're looking at this bull cycle going on for an awful long time, because, you know, that the millennials now make up about 70%. It might be higher now, you know, of retail investors. So you've got to take that into consideration, because there's a real shift in where money's going to be going, right? So that's the first thing. She's also talking about deflation, and this is from disruptive or deconstructing, I guess, projects, companies, that sort of stuff, right? And crypto would be a prime example of that, right? And I can sort of list a couple for you now. So decentralized finance, which is going to completely flip, you know, your traditional finance or banking systems on its head, right? You know, getting loans without an end date, so no 6-year loans anymore or 5-year loans. You know, you could have that loan forever. Matter of fact, you could delegate and your tokens are paying off the loan, right? Like, loads of things that, you know, are possible with decentralized finance, right? So there's one. Then you've got artificial intelligence, you know, so we use 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 as an example. So I've gone to the AI marketplace here, right? So for what people probably not aware of is AI, the cost of AI implementation is coming down really, really fast. It's about 64%. But here, like for example, you can now split your music, your MP3, and turn it so you split, you get the vocal out and you get an instrumental. You can have either or, right? And you can do this just, you know, there's a demo here, for example. I'm not going to play the video, but you can go and have a look at this, right? Just wait for this to load up. It's probably a mistake trying to load this up, isn't it, really? But yeah, look, you can have a go. You get 15 free goes. There's a video here that describes it, but basically you just drop your MP3 in and it'll split it out for you. It's really, really good, right? I've had a go. It's good. And then you've got, like, you know, fake news. They do real-time voice cloning. It's just remarkable stuff, right? Text generation, summaries for text, chess, AI opinion, you know, art. With photographs, or you can get sort of the picture, you can put the picture in there, and then, like, I don't know, an artistic style, and then combine the two. It's like just crazy stuff that you can do, right? And you know, speech recognition, facial recognition, like the list goes on. Training robots, for example, for AI has come down massively, and that's going to be a trend that continues. And outside of 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘, you know, you've got cars, autonomous cars, like by Google and various other companies, that are able to drive around without having a driver, right? You know, you just think of, like, all these robots and stuff that's going to be able to basically do these jobs. We're no longer going to need to do these jobs. So there is an argument that you are going to see deflation And deflation is really bad, right? So let's have a look here. So what is sort of the definition for deflation, right? So deflation is when consumer and asset prices decrease over time and the purchasing power increases. Especially you can buy more goods or services tomorrow with the same amount of money you have today, right? So I'm not going to dig into all of this. You can just research this on Google, right? But it gives you a good idea. So basically what you see is you see, right, okay, so I've got $100 in my pocket, right? And I'm going to buy a camera, right? Just as an example. I know in a week's time it's going to be cheaper. So why would I buy it today? So I hold my money. Yeah. And that compounds because everybody's going to do the same thing. And then what the company do, they'll go, well, we're not selling any of these cameras, so we'll lower the price of the camera. Yeah. So then, well, why am I going to buy it now? Because if I hold my money another month, it's going to be less. Yeah. And basically your economy just suffers massively, right? And it's really hard to get out of that. So, you know, the banking systems and the governments, they're not going to want deflation. It leads to people being unemployed, out of work, which is like, you know, AI is going to, you know, already put people out of work with robots and stuff like that. I say that it's not the AI companies, it's going to be the companies that are replacing humans, because it's actually just going to be cheaper to have a robot do the job. So we're heading into a new world, and deflation is definitely on the card. So I completely agree that deflation is a risk, but not in this cycle. Not happening. So, you know, we're already seeing inflation. Inflation's going to continue. I think inflation's going to be controlled to a point. So I'm not buying into this black swan event. You know, I'm quite happy for those guys to do a video calling me out if I'm incorrect here. But yeah, I'm not aligned to a black swan event. I think, you know, we are going to see, you know, potentially a 2022 bull cycle where it just continues into next year, possibly. Time will tell. Time is always the hardest thing, but you know, the black swan event I think doesn't really fundamentally change anything currently. But again, let's see how things play out. I think inflation is going to be controlled. I think we're going to see, you know, 5, possibly 6%. It might be able to be brought down a little bit. I think they're aiming for 2. But, you know, with that said, we've already seen inflation. If you went and bought a loaf of bread last year and you get, you know, it'd be more expensive today. That's inflation. We've seen that. It depends on your basket of goods as to what the percentage of inflation is. But it's an interesting one, right? There's very few people talking about deflation. I think it's definitely a risk. I think it's definitely on the cards. But you know, there's several things that you could also look at, right? So you could look at the US debt as an example, right? So the average, well, per citizen, the debt is now at $86,500 minus $1 or $2, right? So if you get deflation, people aren't going to be able to pay this off. People are going to lose their jobs. It's just going to be really hard for the debt to be paid off, right? It's just yeah, one of those things. I just can't see it. And 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗧𝗧 was using other examples to back up a theory, one that I don't agree with, which was lumber. So she was saying, you know, we've seen deflation on lumber. Well, we saw inflation on lumber back in May, and this was because you know, the stores were shut. There was difficulty with transportation, so there was a shortage. There was a squeeze on the supply of lumber, which meant the prices went silly high. I know this. I experienced this myself because I was doing my house up at the time, and then actually it became more available and the price came down. That's not deflation. That's actually just the price coming back down to the levels that it should be. And actually it's not that far off where it was. So yeah, I don't align to that. However, you know, it's one of those, you can make data look however you want to make it look. And then we go back, just circle back to I guess the Bitcoin price predictions. We haven't topped up yet. If you look at previous bull runs here, and you know, you could argue even sort of back here, right? You haven't had that blow off top yet. It just hasn't happened. I think it will be really, really fast. But we haven't had that yet. But, you know, let's see how things play out. I think it's an interesting one. I thought it was definitely worth putting a video together. I would love for you to leave comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think we're going to see inflation or deflation? What do you think the risks are? Let me know if you've got any questions. And, you know, let me know what your price predictions are for Bitcoin. Really interested to know and get your views and opinions. If you enjoyed today's video, mash that like button, subscribe, tap that bell, select all the notifications so you never miss a video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.